Hey guys, welcome to the channel and welcome back to another video. On today's video, I want to talk about the top two AI stocks that I'm buying on top of Nvidia stock, right? Nvidia, I've been out there talking about Nvidia, I'm actually buying Nvidia, but there's two other stocks that I'm actually buying. And one of them is on my watch list, one of them I'm actually bought, but I'm probably going to buy it, right? They are Super Micro Computer and Palantir. I want to have a conversation about those two companies today. Before I get into stocks, let me know where you're coming from, state, city, country, county, and good to have you here. Thank you for joining me. I want to talk about or mention what happened yesterday that you all need to consider. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay. Something that you got that happened yesterday that I really want you guys to be thinking about, and there was a massive revision, and I did a video about it yesterday because I think it's really important because it could change a lot of things. There was a massive revision in the numbers of new jobs created from April of 2023 to March of 2024, right? And they revised it down. It was the largest revision down in about 15 years, 818,000 jobs, perhaps even more than that, that they're actually going to do another revision soon. Revisions are normal. They always do revisions. This is not abnormal. The only thing abnormal about it is the fact that it was so big, right? So big. And a big part of what we've been talking about on this channel is not just stocks and managing money and personal finance, but we've been talking about the unemployment rate and what's going to happen with the Fed making a decision to cut or raise rates. Well, we know that the Fed focuses on those unemployment numbers and those labor figure numbers, right? Whether the labor is tight or not tight. And so has the Fed been making a decision based on some really, really inflated numbers in terms of jobs, right? Something really important to know, right? And I'm not saying they did that on purpose or didn't do it on purpose. I don't know that. I can't tell that. But I can tell you that that's a significant change. You're talking about almost 1 million jobs different than what the actual numbers were. So that was huge. It happened yesterday. And again, depends on where you sit on the aisle. Left side of the aisle, no big deal. They do revisions all the time. Right side of the aisle, you're crazy. You guys have been hiding these numbers because you wanted the unemployment rate to seem a certain way because of. So I'm not saying one way or the other, political, not political, whatever. But it was a big, big, massive revision, the largest since 2009. Right? Can't say it was on purpose or not. St. Louis, Missouri's in the house. Aretha, good to have you. Please, as you come in, thank you, Mrs. Moore, for being here. I appreciate you. Hit the like button as you come in. We want to dig into these two AI stocks that I'm watching. One I've bought, one I have not bought, other than Nvidia, right? Nvidia stock, we know it's kind of had a fluctuating day, but we want to talk about a couple of other AI stocks that I think you need to pay attention to. Brian, good to have you here. Stanford, good to have you here. Willie Wilo's in the house from Maple Shade, New Jersey. Good to have you. Let's see here. Troy Brown is in the house. Good to have you. Arizona is here. Delaware State. Good to have you here. 50% of all corporations that are publicly traded in America are incorporated in Delaware. Of course, you guys knew that, right? So Super Micro Computer. Let's kick it off with Super Micro. Super Micro Computer makes server technology and the hardware that is used in data centers. So Super Micro Computer is really a hardware company. It's really a hardware company. If you haven't done the research on Super Micro and Palantir, this is a video you want to watch because we're going to try to dig into these companies. We'll talk a little bit about the quantitative stuff, right? The growth, right? The PEs, the earnings, all that. We'll talk a little bit, but we'll also talk a lot about the companies themselves, right? Who are they? Right? Who are they? Right? What do they do? So basically, Super Micro Computer is up first. By the way, let me say this. If you're watching this on replay, please, please, please watch out for the scammers in the comment section. The scammers are relentless, guys. They are absolutely relentless. I think they sit around in a big room and have like thousands of phones and hit a button and it sends stuff out automatically to all these phones. I mean, it's crazy. But the point is that Be careful about those scammers. I don't ask for anything, or I won't ask you about, hey, did you enroll in some coaching? None of that. I don't do that stuff in the comment section. If you'll know it's me in the comment section, because it will be a real genuine heart, or it will be a real genuine response to your comment. Okay. So basically, Super Microcomputer is a hardware provider for data centers. And remember, if we're big, if we think AI is going to do well, then we think data centers are going to do well. If we think AI technology is here to stay and it's going to have this balloon effect in the next 4 or 5 years and triple, almost triple in terms of its market share from what 190 billion today to 800 billion by the year 2030. If we believe that, then Super Microcomputer might be something you want to do your research on. They provide hardware for the data centers. The CEO, let me see if I can figure out some stuff about the CEO. Okay, the CEO of Super Microcomputer, Supermicro, is Charles Liang. He founded the company back in 1993, and he's been the CEO ever since. And I don't know if you guys have heard me before, but I kind of like tech companies that still have the same CEO, right? And I know that it can't be like that always, right? But I kind of like the tech companies who were founded with a bunch of folks, and then they end up having at least one or two of them stick around. We see that in the Nvidia and some others as well. But it began as a company. Supermicro began as a company that was focused on designing and manufacturing motherboards, high performing, high speed motherboards, right? And the company initially made most of its money by producing these customizable server boards and customizable motherboards that was tailored specifically to meet the needs of different, enterprise ITs and even data centers back then, and cloud computing, whatever you want to name, right? So their emphasis, Supermicro, has been on performance and customization of their motherboards and their hardware, right? And so they've got a significant share of the server industry that's out there right now that is ready to partake in AI, right? So Supermicro is pretty much considered a global leader in these high performance, high efficiency server technology and server innovation that's happening, and AI infrastructure solutions as well. So, and I'll just read it right from here. The company designs, develops, and manufactures a broad range. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Server boards, chassis, complete systems optimized for data centers, cloud computing, big data, and high performance computing environments. Known for its focus on energy efficiency and green computing, green, right? So that's really important, because when you're talking about AI, you're talking about lots and lots of energy. They're known for their stuff, right? So the stock went crazy in January of this year. It went just ballistic, right? Let me go ahead and remove this banner real quick. Don't need to keep seeing that banner. All right, so the stock went buck wild in January of 2024. Let me actually show you the stock real quick. Let me share my screen with you guys. And again, let me see what we got in the chat here. North Carolina is checking in the chat. Good to have you here. Let's see. Let's see here. Nvidia for lifers. Is there a Nashville, Arkansas? Listen, I've never heard of Nashville, Arkansas. So, what can I say? I did not know that there was a Nashville, Arkansas. So bear with me here. Let me just do a little bit of poking around here and look at the stock itself. Or actually, let me go ahead and go to, let's see here. I'll actually see if I can go to their website real quick. Just kind of thumb around on there for a hot second. So give me just a second here. Cancel that. Go back over here. And let's say, there it is right there. All right. So Super Microcomputer. I just went to their website, guys, right? I just went to their website. Nothing fancy here. Just want to kind of poke around here. I'm just doing some of the research, right? So you look at their products, they got solutions, look at the company, they got an about section, careers, et cetera, et cetera. Empowering retail success with customized AI-driven infrastructure, software-defined, super micro-enabled storage solutions. There we go. That's what fits into the data centers, that picture right there. Let's see here. Rack scale solutions, Super Blade, Twin Family. They offer some products, I see. There's the CEO, by the way, sitting right next to here, next to Nvidia CEO. Let's see, both of them are joining to showcase how Supermicro solutions are reshaping IT landscape. And it goes on and goes on. Here's products. Let me click on the product button. Boom, quite a bit of products there in terms of solutions, quite a bit of solutions from HPCU, data management, all AI infrastructure, cloud and virtualization, hyperscale infrastructure as well, and so on and so forth. So, and then we can get to their financials. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Just wanted to kind of get a feel for their website real quick here. And let's see, boom, boom. So, again, let me show you their stock real quick so I can kind of preface that with what their stock has actually done, because their stock has been pretty crazy, to say the least, in the last 6 months. Let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. There they are. So, Supermicro's stock. Am I there? Maybe not. Give me a second here. Man, I got to get better. I'm getting better. Bear with me. I went to the wrong screen. All right. So here we are. So Super Micro Computer stock trading at 604.82. But let me show you what it's done in the red right here, guys, in terms of year to date. Actually, we'll go 1 year over year over year. See that stock right there? Boom, 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 going along at 284, 285 around this time last year, even around December, 8 months ago, 9 months ago, still around, $272 per share. And then it went ballistic. Boom, 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 straight up, all the way up to a whopping 1,100, 1,200 bucks, what have you. Since then, we've seen it kind of come back down to reality. It got overblown, but it made a crazy, crazy leap. And now it's hovering around 604. Now, they just had their earnings report come out about 2 weeks ago or so. Supermicro Computer had its earnings come out. So you see that sharp correction after what happened with the sharp increase that happened right around February of this year. And you saw, and when I say correction, it came down quite a bit, right? So to me, it might be a little bit still overextended, but especially with there's been the recent earnings report that came out that shows some very nice revenue. And we'll talk about that in a second. But let's talk about first, in terms of Supermicro, what sort of industries do they lead in? What are they the leader of? Right? Again, it's not just one facet of AI. We know it's hardware, but as we said, it's data centers, right? It's cloud computing, private and public. It's what they call edge computing, enterprise IT in terms of servers and storage for those servers, as we saw on the website. AI and machine learning is another big space they play it. High performance HPC, high performance computing, telecommunications, healthcare, life sciences, whatever. You name it, they're all over it in terms of Supermicro, right? Not to mention financial services, education, research, whatever. They do it all. Cars, all that stuff, EVs. So they're a big player in a lot of the hardware that's needed to power AI, right? So what that means is AI, strong prospects for growth, in my opinion. Supermicro Computer, strong prospects for growth as well. All right. And it's experienced some rapid, as you saw on the chart here, guys, some rapid, very crazy revenue growth, right? I think they doubled their sales in the last fiscal year to 14 or 15 billion. And so, in my opinion, with the continued expansion of AI and data centers, this is why I'm keeping a very close watch on Supermicro. I have not purchased Supermicro just yet. Full disclosure. By the way, since we're talking full disclosures, everything. This is not financial advice. I have to say it. This is just giving you some information that's out there. I'm kind of bringing this whole thing into a sphere. This is one that I'm looking at. It's on my watch list. If I go to my watch list, you'll see it. It's on my watch list right now. I have not purchased Supermicro yet, but I'm telling you, I'm kind of going through all the thought processes out loud in terms of if I would buy it or if I wouldn't buy it, right? So the company had some large revenue growth, and they anticipate further revenue growth, and they're projecting somewhere between 26 billion and 30 billion over the next fiscal year, right? So, as with all stocks in terms of tech, as with all tech stocks, remember there is volatility. There is volatility. Yes, great growth potential, but volatility. They're also doing partnerships and all that good stuff. And you just saw on their website, partnerships with Nvidia and all those. So they're doing all the right things to grow, right? Who are their competitors? Let's get this out the way because we want to be clear about their competitors, because all of these AI companies who I think are doing well, and we look at, they all have competitors. So for Supermicro, competitors are like Dell Technologies and HP, right? We've heard of HP, Hewlett Packard, right? Hewlett Packard, believe it or not, 30, 40 years later, guys, they're still in the hardware space as well. So not to mention Cisco is a competitor of Supermicro. Any company that's providing hardware is a competitor, right? IBM. Oh, by the way, if you didn't know, IBM is still a company, right? Right. Some of you think of AI and technology, and you forgot about IBM that's been around for 40 years, right? But Lenovo, IBM, those are competitors in the enterprise hardware space because they have servers and storage units and all that stuff. Then you got Nvidia, right? But of course, they're partnering with Nvidia and they're partnering with some of those. Oracle is also in there. Remember Oracle? Remember the founder of Oracle was like this, almost a superstar 20 years ago. So all of those are some of the some of the competition that they have to deal with, right? In terms of earning growth for Supermicro, one of the reasons that it caught my eye was because of, the recent revenue hike that, where it went way up. But the 3 and 5 year growth has been wonderful in terms of revenue, right? And in terms of earnings itself, right? So they forecast in 2025, let me see if I can bring it up real quick. They forecast a revenue of 26 billion, right? 26 billion. So they've got some future earnings and I could pull up some articles and things like that. I won't, but they're projecting some good stuff. Now, in terms of Supermicro's last earnings report, we got to talk about it because it was just 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago. Their last earnings report released, I think, August 6th, showed sort of mixed results, right? Obviously, great earnings per share. Let me do this real quick. Let me pull them up on Schwab's site if I can get them. Let me pull them up on Schwab's site real quick. Let's do that. Let's pull them up on the Schwab site. All right, so I'm sharing my screen with you guys. Let me know that you can see it. Yep, I think you can. Great. So this is just a watch list of a bunch of stuff. You see SMCI, Supermicro right here. So Supermicro is right here. Let me just run through a few things. EPS actual, PE ratios at $31.05. By the way, PE ratios are always a little bit higher in the tech space, right? Look at some of the other companies. Look at Microsoft's PE ratio. Look at Broadcom's PE ratio. Look at Palantir, which we'll talk about in a minute. So in that space, the PE ratios are always a little bit higher, right? Let me actually pull up SMCI right here, Supermicro Computer right here. Let's see here. All right, so I'm in Charles Schwab right here. That's the screen you guys are seeing. So, and then we look at some of the year to date. We already looked at that. The E represents the earnings, by the way, on there. So, bunch of stories and things we could look at. And there's some more in terms of its statements and so forth, ratios with some of its peers. But let me actually, no, we'll just leave it right there. But a few things about it. Okay, so Supermicro reported an EPS of about $6.25, which was below the estimate of $7.63. That's one of the reasons why we've seen a drop off in the last 3 weeks after they reported earnings. But again, their revenue was 140% higher than it was year over year. So their revenue was high, right? Overall, it sounds like they're making more money. Revenue went up. But also they're in the problem with Supermicro that's been kind of weighing on me is the fact that the cost of the revenue has also increased. And that's sort of why we didn't see this spike in their stock price after the August 6th earnings report. We saw a dip. It's dipped down because, yeah, they've grown tremendously in terms of revenue, but that has come at a high cost. The cost of the revenue. If I went to free cash flow and started showing you that, you would see that the cost of the revenue, yeah, higher revenue, but they're paying more for higher revenue at a ratio higher than they were for the lower revenue. So it's sort of a mixed bag, right? So they're looking to double their revenue, right? But the thing is, because there's big demand for what they do in terms of AI, we know there's big demand, right? But despite this revenue growth, the thing that I'm having a little bit of trepidation about is that the rising cost that they've experienced as a company, which if the cost of the revenue goes up, that means your margin goes down. The profit margins go down, right? So their gross profit margins were lower than I would like to see. And really and I'm not an expert, but a lot of experts would like to see it a little bit lower as well. Right. So that's sort of the trepidation I'm having with Supermicro. However, so, they're paying a lot of money to carry the high revenue. That's basically in a nutshell, right? So, and you can see their trailing 12 months PE was about $31, right? Which is not overly high, especially in the AI sector. Very nice, right? But the cost. I don't think it's really overvalued at this point. It's still trading at 607. It was all the way up at $1,100, $1,200 just a few months ago. But if you look at their free cash flow, it's kind of all over the place. So the question becomes, like, what are they doing to address the cost? Right? And I should pull up an article or two, guys. I don't think I will, but in my opinion, looking ahead, I'm a little bit optimistic about Supermicro. And the reason they're on my watch list and I'm super optimistic about them is because of the AI boom. I think that they'll find a way to continue to have increased revenue, but find a way over the next quarter or two to find a way to lower that cost of the revenue, right? I think the drive and the demand for AI, one of the reasons it's heavy on my watch list is because the demand for AI, I think, is going to outweigh, and they're going to find ways to become more efficient as revenues continue to increase. That's my personal opinion. I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be an expert. This is not financial advice. I'm telling you what I think. Okay. It's an interesting AI play for sure. They have another earnings report. Supermicro has another earnings report coming out November 6th. Not to mention, somebody may have already mentioned in the chat, not to mention, they announced a stock split. So they have a stock split coming up as well. The stock split is a 10-for-1 stock split. It's going to happen in October, I think early October, right? So the shares won't always be $600, right? These shares are going to be down to 60, 70, 80 bucks here shortly. And do you want to get in before the next earnings report, November 6th? Do you want to get in before the stock split? Remember, stock split doesn't mean anything. It just means if you own 10 if you own one share, now you own 10. If you own 10 shares, now you own 100, right? That's a question for you. All right, let me see. Somebody said, I think I had a question or two, guys, Thanks for the thumbs up. I'm going way back, way back. ASML. Somebody asked a question about ASML. ASML has been on my watch list for a minute, and ASML has actually been a stock that I think I actually now they've been it's been on my watch list for a while. I haven't pulled the trigger on ASML. Maybe we can talk about that at some point. Drop a comment below when this video goes on YouTube. Drop a comment on ASML specifically, and I'll see what I can do to answer that question for you. But ASML has sort of been on my watch list for quite a while, and I haven't pulled the trigger on it. I just have never been convinced about it up to this point. So good question, though. Thanks for asking that. Let's see here. Louisiana's in the house. Somebody said, what are the books behind me? I don't know. I can try to name them for you. Stock Market 101, The Simple Path to Wealth, J.L. Collins, When We Ruled, written by Robin something. He's a British guy. 48 Laws of Power. John Buck O'Neill, which was written by my brother-in-law. Actually, he's a Negro League historian, one of the top Negro League historians in the world, actually. A Random Walk Down Wall Street, and of course, I got Powernomics back there by the Dr. Claude Anderson as well. So several books back there, guys. Good stuff. Other books too. I got a bunch of books. I like a lot of books. Let's see here. How much what's the two stocks? Oh, two stocks. We just said them, right? Two stocks. Super micro. And now I want to spend some time talking about Palantir. That's the second stock, AI stock, that I'm watching other than Nvidia. Guys, do me a favor. Smash the like button for me. Hit the thumbs up button for me. Share this video with somebody who you know may be looking to get into the stock game, learning a little bit about investing. Share this information. Could be a new stock person, could be a person that's intermediate, been around a while. But the AI sector is an area in terms of individual stocks. Now, I have a stock portfolio that's, TSP, Thrift Savings Plan, Job. I have another stock portfolio that's ETFs. And that's ETFs over on the Vanguard place. But I've got individual stocks. In the individual stock area, I'm being a little bit more aggressive with my strategy. So I'm looking at a lot of these growth stocks, like in the sector of tech, right? And so that's why these two AI stocks are sticking out to me at this particular point, and I'm watching them. Let's see here. Somebody said, thoughts on what is Lamb Research, Robert? I may be behind. I don't know much about it. Lamb Research, don't know much about it. Let's see. Somebody said you can't have books and not expect us to ask. Absolutely. I have a wide range of books. I love history. I love biographies. I refuse. Guys, you can beat me up if you want to. I refuse to read fiction. I've never liked fiction books. I don't want to read a story about something that may have happened. I want to read truth. So I always go for nonfiction. I never read fiction. I haven't read a fiction book. I'm going to say about 35 years. About 25 years, because I read a Zora Neale Hurston book. But I don't like fiction. So I read a lot of, history and biographies and financials, etc. Let's see here. Powernomics. Absolutely. I like Powernomics. It was a pretty good book. Pretty tough read too. So somebody said I got Palantir when it was 9. Let's talk Palantir. Ticker symbol PLTR, right? Let's do this because a lot of people haven't done this, and I want to actually go to Palantir's website. So give me just a second here, guys. Let's see if we can't go to their website, because I always like to, when I'm looking at a stock, I like to see what they do. How's their website? Is it easy to maneuver? Can I get to the investors section easy? And Palantir is kind of one of those interesting stocks, guys. Palantir is an interesting stock because Palantir, there's sort of a shroud of mystery over Palantir in a lot of ways, right? Because of what they do, right? But let's look at I think I'm sharing here, guys. Let me know if I'm sharing. Yep. This is their website, right? I mean, not overly friendly, right? It doesn't jump out to you, say, oh, yeah, I understand what that means. So it says, read the CEO Alex Karp's latest letter to shareholders. Let me actually do that. I'm going to pull it up real quick, right? I think you guys can still see that, right? Yeah, letter to shareholders, where he talks about read from the CEO Alex Karp in English. Let's go ahead and grab it in English, right? So he talks about the playbooks of the past are no longer working. Even the people who had believed in them, and the enterprise software business had for years. Goes over some history. He says, we have believed from the beginning that a singular focus on creating value for our partners is the only way to survive. And he says, we generated $678 million in revenue in the second quarter of the year, an increase of 27%. So revenues are up. Wonderful. The growth of our business has been reaccelerating steadily. Our financial performance, strong as it is, has always been a lagging indicator of the character and momentum of our business. But look at their growth that he's laying out, to their quarterly growth, even through quarter two of this year, right? Steady growth in Palantir. Our business has also never been more profitable. He said we've generated $134 million in net income, the largest quarterly profit in our company's 22-year history, quarter two of this year. And so the company is growing. Right? It says our growth across the commercial and government markets has been driven by unrelenting wave of demand from customers for AI systems that go beyond the merely performative and academic. So let's talk about, I don't want to read his whole deal, right? I don't want to go through that whole thing, but let's talk about who is Palantir and what do they do? What's so special? Why do we hear about them? They're an American software company known for, and I'll just read it right off of this other website, known for data fusion and mining, a process that involves analyzing large volumes of information, combining that data from various different sources. It's unique. Palantir is unique because of its exposure to sensitive government clients and sensitive government missions. This is the beauty of Palantir. Palantir has the opportunity to not only grow in the commercial space, as we just saw the CEO was talking about, but also they have the opportunity to grow in government space. And I mean, not just American government, but I mean, other governments have called on Palantir's services, right? So Palantir is mostly known for specializing in supporting government agencies and using surveillance, right, and data technology to identify and target people in conflict zones, borders, policing, whatever you name, right? So it's a software, and then Palantir is a software company. It's a software company that helps businesses make data-driven decisions based on the analytics, right? Highly, highly valuable for corporations and for governments, right? And they have the ability to get their data and all their software up in hours. Because remember, they've worked for the U.S. government and they've carried lots and lots of U.S. government contracts. So they know how, when you needed something quick, boom, you can get on it. Boom. Just imagine the application for that in the AI space at, say, a Microsoft, or the AI space at Nvidia, right? Wherever, right? So they're a software company that specializes in big data analytics, big data protection, etc. Founded back in 2003, so it's over 20 years old, and it was founded by several guys. One of them is still the CEO. It was two guys, Alex and Peter, were CEOs. By the way, one thing you got to remember about Palantir is this: they have a CEO today who is like a political guy. I say he's kind of into politics, right? The Palantir CEO endorsed Kamala Harris, whereas the old CEO partner endorsed Donald Trump, right? So there's a schism happening inside of the company. Kind of strange, right? Do your own research. I'm not going to go down that route, but sort of a schism there. But they own it, right? So this is what they do: make federal agencies, make corporations better secure their data. And basically, you can say this: Palantir is a software surveillance company. That's pretty much what it is: surveillance and big data. I think they had said over 14 or 1,500 patents, right? according to most people, Palantir has a moat around itself as well. A moat meaning there's not a lot of companies that can compete with what they do because they've done it with in the federal government space and the commercial space, right? It just has Palantir sort of has competitive advantages as we move forward. Now, here's the thing I like about Palantir. The AI space and the technology space is not going anywhere. I think it's going to go up from here. And who better to have in your corner as a government, as a tech company, as an Apple, or as an Nvidia, than to have the people in your corner who have been doing what you need to do in terms of securing your space and offering surveillance upgrades and innovation than the leader in that space, which is Palantir, right? They've got the strong brand appeal. They've got the strong experience. They've got the intellectual property. They've got the patents. They've got the abilities. They've got the know-how. They've got a lot of things that kind of put a little moat around them, so it makes it harder for competitors to actually compete with them as well. But nowadays, they're in automotive. They're in cybersecurity. They're in financial compliance. They're in law enforcement around the country, around the world. You name it. Department of Defense, right? Case management stuff, insider threats. How many times have you been, cybersecurity is just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse, right? Cybersecurity is going to go up. So if cybersecurity is going to go up, who do we want to have in our corner but the leader in surveillance? Palantir. The question is, can Palantir kind of translate the success they've had with government contracts around the world with major success in the technology space of non-government entities, right? So who is Palantir's customer base? Let's talk about that. Somebody said, I don't trust Palantir, therefore it's a no for me. Listen, there are some ethical issues that always tend to surround Palantir because they know a lot, right? They just know a lot. They when I say a lot, I mean a lot, right? So I understand that some of you guys are saying, hey, I'm on Nvidia only. I'm only looking at Broadcom and Nvidia, but I just want to share these other companies with you because you got to know about them as well. Somebody said Alex Karp is a hardcore socialist. Some of them are. Yeah, if you look at the leadership or management of Palantir, and you are concerned about the political leanings of the CEO, then you need to research that, because the CEO of Palantir is definitely out there, right? What other CEO comes out and supports or comes out endorsing a candidate for president? That just normally didn't happen. But the Palantir CEO is a very outspoken person, right? Guys, don't forget to hit the like button for me. Thank you. You got to do me a favor, guys. Just tap the like button. Stop what you're doing and just tap the like button for me real quick. I appreciate that, guys, so much. So let's see here. So let me just read into the comments here. Let's see. Boom, boom. Why don't you know, even if it's not Palantir, I'm sure there's other selections out there. Somebody said ethical concerns. Yeah, that's always an issue with Palantir, right? Always an issue. Their customer base includes a mix, right? Large defense institutions, defense companies, and of course, commercial companies as well. But you're talking about major U.S. government departments, Department of Defense, U.S. Army, and other intelligence agencies are out there, right? Think about one of my favorite movies, Enemy of the State. You guys ever see the movie Enemy of the State? I really enjoy that movie. I don't know. I can watch that movie over and over and over. But the U.S. Army and all these other intelligence agencies, they are the customers traditionally of Palantir. But they've also expanded their commercial reach as well, right? And if you go through and read the rest of his speech, the CEO, he'll talk about how they've increased their revenue to the commercial world outside of the government, non-government work by 55% in the last year. Right? So triple ARP, other energy companies around the country, right? They use Palantir's AI platform, software platform. And so Palantir kind of has this dual they're focused on government contracts for governments around the world, but they're also focused on the commercial stuff too, right? But they get about 60% today, 40% commercial, 60% still government. And it's 60-40, but it's trending where they're going up and up in terms of commercials. We know that, right? So they've got their contracts. They've got their ability to maybe be in sectors that a lot of people in AI can't go in. Don't forget the controversies, as somebody mentioned in the chat, right? The ethical concerns, the privacy concerns, the surveillance, all that stuff. The lack that you may see of transparency that people have a problem with Palantir, right? So sort of a secretive nature of what they do. And some people that are investors have found that to be problematic, as I've heard a few people say, right? So in my opinion, Palantir continues to be, it's going to be now and moving forward, a major player in data analytics, right? In data analytics, serving, in my opinion, both the governments and commercial as well. In terms of long-term growth, Palantir's long-term growth prospects, in my opinion, is going to be driven by its position in AI and position in data analytics and position in cybersecurity and surveillance moving forward on the commercial side, right? It's got a strong, it's sort of like, I won't say it's sort of like the Nvidia of the software space. That may be going a little strong. But in terms of what they do and offer, their unique offerings in terms of product, services, et cetera, it's got a potential to be really big, right? Because they've shown some really nice revenue growth and the ability to maybe transition from government space to regular space, right? So in terms of competition, right? Let me just pull up that competition. Let me see what they got in terms of competition. Just pulled it up here. Major competitors include Snowflake, Databricks, IBM again, Microsoft. We know where Microsoft is in the space of software. Obviously a major player, been a major player. But the thing about Palantir is they've sort of established relationships in two fronts. Like Microsoft hasn't established the same relationship that Palantir has established with the federal government. Yeah, Microsoft has a relationship with the government, but not quite with some of the sensitive pieces that Palantir has, right? Not to mention, you're talking about Amazon, Google, all that stuff, right? They've got those relationships out there. It also is going to compete with some of the big government contract folks, which is like Booz Allen, Hamilton. You guys heard of them, Raytheon as well, and some other large ones that we could go on and name. Full disclosure. Let me make this full disclosure midway through the video. This is me speaking for me, not me speaking on behalf of the federal government. All right. Got to always say that because, Palantir has a big relationship with the federal government, and I don't have anything to do with that. Right. This is me speaking for me. So big growth, big growth in earnings, right? Palantir. Profitability increased. Revenue up. Customer count up. Right? Next earnings for Palantir. And I could go through Palantir real quick, guys. Let me just kind of share my screen with you real quick, see if I can pull them up. I didn't really look at the numbers with you guys, but let me just show you. I'll take you on the backside of my watch list if you don't mind coming along here, guys. Let me take you on the backside of my watch list real quick. Palantir is sitting right there on my watch list right here although I actually own some Palantir. But Palantir being over here, guys, let me just kind of run through a few things in terms of earnings. October 31st is their next earnings report. And you can look at ratings over here. I'm on the backside of Schwab right here, guys. And it's a buy, it's a hold for some. It's got a rating of a D on Schwab's equity rating. In terms of valuations, uh, you know, price today, $31.92. PE ratio, really high, but that's because of strong growth, right? And when I say strong growth, I mean in the last month, we've seen some really strong growth. That's their market cap, outstanding shares multiplied by the price, 72 billion. That's kind of what it's worth, right? 72 billion in terms of stock, plus 70% when you compare it to the S&P 500 year to date since January of this year in terms of profitability. And these are things we could pull when we could look at top line revenue and all that. We could pull it from their quarterly earnings report, but I'm just giving you a snapshot of it here. 5-year revenue growth up 30%, which is great. Nothing wrong with that at all, right? 1-year earnings per share growth is ginormous because of the growth it's seen. Return on equity, 11.5%. Let's see here in terms of fundamentals. Let's see here. Boom, 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 boom. EPS, actual PE ratio, again, high, as we said before. But this year, 52-week range, it's been down as low as $13 this year, as high as $33 this year. And let me go ahead and click on Palantir to go a little deeper. Let me see if you guys are still sharing, if you can still see my screen. Yep, you do. So in terms of the last month, as I said, Palantir has seen some boost in the last month. See that green going up, 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 up? That's just in the last 30 days, guys. It's gone from $21 per share. Now again, trading up at $32 per share at the close of the day. So I could go into a lot more in terms of what's being said, what's not being said, looking at some trailing 12-month ratios and so forth, but I won't. So the point being, earnings reports coming out soon. Palantir is on my watch list for all the reasons that I mentioned. Palantir is on the watch list. But if you're a person that says, hey, look, I don't do your research. I don't like the CEO. I don't like what he says. He's a full-blown socialist. He's got the wrong candidate for presidency. I don't like the fact that he's out there. Listen, I don't like the fact that Mark Cuban comes on the court during basketball games when the Dallas Mavericks are playing. Look, Mark Cuban, go to the booth like all the other owners. We don't have to see you slapping high five on, the fifth game of the season. Out of 82-game season, you're on the court slapping high five at a home game. Look, Mark Cuban, sit down. If that's what you believe, because Palantir's CEO is sort of similar. He's the guy that's out front choosing a presidential candidate, you can go Google him, look him up on YouTube. You'll see what I mean. If that's not your stilo and you don't like that, maybe it's not the stock for you. Maybe you can tolerate that and stomach that because the stock is growing and has lots of growth potential, and you can overlook that. This is why you need a strategy, because if it doesn't fit into your strategy, don't get hyped on it, right? Don't just all of a sudden, yay, everybody's going out and buying Palantir because it moved from $27 per share to $32 per share. And then in 3 weeks, it goes to $34 per share. But a lot of people have looked at Palantir and said Palantir could be the next Nvidia. Different space, different circumstances, different outside pressures, different competition. I know that. I'm just saying people are thinking that it has a potential to have that sort of growth in some respects. Maybe not to Nvidia's level, but close to. But some of you may not like the CEO, and that's understandable, right? That's very, very understandable. No, I'm not a socialism guy either. I don't like it either. Let's see here. Somebody said, I'm just going back to the chat here. Let's see. Boom, it's more. I finally reached 100 shares of Nvidia today, said Sherlock. Congratulations to you. I'm way behind, guys. Let's see here. Ethical concerns. We talked about that. Russia and Ukraine. That's another thing. When it comes to Palantir, there's been protests because they've supplied certain intelligence and so forth. There's a lot going on there that if you're a political person and that makes a difference to you in terms of your investing, you definitely need to do your research on Palantir. Let's see here. How do I feel about Intel? I've never been a fan of Intel. I haven't been a fan of Intel for 20 years. So that's just me, right? I just have not been a fan of Intel for lots of reasons. Not big on their leadership and all that kind of stuff. Let's see here. I thought for sure that Mark Zuckerberg and Jensen Huang meeting was going to result in some type of partnership. Sherlock, we don't know what is happening behind the scenes either. Keep that in mind, right? A lot of times these big tech companies, they have relationships and so forth, sort of behind the scenes, and are working on deals all the time, might make one little blurb about it, and the next thing you know, the story comes out. So we don't know. We got to see, right? Somebody said I bought 300 shares of Nvidia. Need to get Palantir next for huge gains. Perhaps, right? Perhaps. I'm just telling you what I'm watching. I'm watching Super Microcomputer, and I'm watching Palantir. Now, do I agree with the CEO of Palantir? That's something that I have to weigh because I like to invest in companies that I agree with in terms of the ethical, the morals. I take that in consideration. That's part of my strategy, right? When I go over and show you my strategy, matter of fact, can I just show you guys parts of my strategy? I've actually sort of tightened up some things on my individual stock portfolio stock checklist. Let me just share that with you guys while we're here, right? So in terms of my checklist, I wish I could make this a little bigger for you guys. I apologize if it's too small, but this is my spreadsheet. I'm looking at business, the industry, the market, the business itself. I'm looking at leadership. I'm looking at financials. I'm looking at a few miscellaneous things. So I'm looking at, this is the checklist I'm developing for me when it comes to buying these stocks. Matter of fact, 15 minutes before I did a video here, I was over on our other platform over there on Patreon. Feel free to join us on Patreon for a little bit more in-depth behind the scenes in terms of individual stock picking, guys. You can join that. There's a link in the description box below at the very top. Click on that link. Join us over there, right? Also, I didn't mention my channel partner, right? My channel partner, Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile. If you're looking for inexpensive service, check out Mint Mobile for your premium wireless service. Excellent service. There's other free stuff in the description box. Guys, just hit that thumbs up button for me. So this is my checklist. And I go through a number of things. I could have made it bigger. I could have made it longer. I could have made it more extensive. I could have made it more in detail. But I said, let's do an overview. Do you understand the business, how they make money? Do you know does the company have favorable long-term prospects for growth? Does the company have a moat or a high barrier of entry around it? Is the business replicable? Could the company adjust prices with inflation? What's the competition and the competition's financials? Are its services and products in demand, and why are they in demand? And will they be in demand for the foreseeable future, right? And what about business failures? Then the leadership, high integrity, right? These are things that I find important, so I look at these things. Have they demonstrated rational decision-making? Then I look at the financials, the money, right? Obviously, the quantitative stuff. Are the profit margins better than average? Has the company had a track record of earnings growth in most years? In most years above the stock market average? Because look, they could be growing at 3%, 4%, 3%, 5%. But look, if they're growing at 3% and 4%, and I'm out here being risky and trying to buy some growth stocks, I don't want my growth stocks growing at 3% a year. I want my growth stocks growing at 10, 12, 15% a year, right? So that's something I look at. Our profit. Okay, so debt to equity ratio, ROE, return on equity, right? Revenue, top line revenue, earnings growth, EBITDA, right? Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, all that, right? Free cash flow. What's the free cash flow? Free cash flow is important because free cash flow tells me what do they have left over? When it's all said and done, what do they have left over? Free cash flow. right? If you were comparing free cash flow to your own personal finances, it would be looking at your expenses every month next to your income every month and seeing what the cushion is left over. That's your free cash flow and your personal budget at your home. So the free cash flow of a company says, what do they have left over to innovate, to pay dividend, to pay off debt, whatever. So free cash flow matters, right? Debt, do they have a lot of debt, low debt, et cetera? And obviously the share price. So I tried to keep this stock list sort of basic, high level, because I'm going to be digging in and using a lot of common sense as well at the same time, looking at some of the geopolitical factors that happen that might affect, for example, Nvidia, Super Micro, um, you know, Palantir. These companies could be affected by wars, by conflicts, by the price, whatever. It could be a lot of different things that affect these, and I have to know these things, right? They're not on the checklist, but they're in my brain. I know them as well. So I just want to show you that I've developed a checklist that's going to help me in terms of what we do, individual stock picking over at Patreon, right? So let me go back to the chat, guys. I hope that was okay to share with you guys. Let's see here. Somebody says, Smart Money Bro, what do you think? Good question. What do you think about Kamala's taxes on unrealized gains? I think it's absolutely makes zero sense. I think it makes absolutely zero sense. I also think it makes zero sense to up the tax on businesses, the capital, not the capital, but the business tax, right? To 20, was it 28%? What did I read there, guys? Help me out. Corporate tax, right? So corporate tax to 28%. I'm not a fan of that. 28% tax rate change, highest increase in 30 years. No. You're just going to have a lot of companies fleeing, right? Why would I pay that much tax? I'm going to flee. No, I'm not a fan of, listen, I'm a fan. So, I'm kind of in the middle when it comes to politically. However, I want as less government as possible in my financials, right? I want as less government as possible in my financials. Some of you agree, disagree. That's okay. We can still like each other and still disagree, right? But I think tax. I don't even think it was taxing unrealized gains. I don't think that's what her plan was. Maybe I could be wrong. But no, you don't want to unrealized gains. No, and you don't want to raise the corporate tax. And no, I don't like any of that at all. Not at all. I'm not big on those two things. Good question, Mr. Reynolds. Let's see here. Hope I didn't upset anybody because I normally don't take a side, but that's definitely something that's out the picture. Let me just run through the chat, see what else we got. Let's see here. And I got way behind again, but I'm trying to catch up, guys. Yeah, I'm back there. Somebody said, let's see here. No, a lot of those policies are definitely not very financially sound at all. Okay, so no more questions. I think I got caught up with questions. If you have a question, put a Q in the front, and I will more than likely try to do my best to answer it, guys. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm a capitalist guy. I like capitalism. I like not necessarily unfettered capitalism, right? But I do like the idea of being able to have the option to start a business, raise a business, grow a business, and not have the government control everything we do. I'm not a big fan of that at all. Let's see here. Just see what I missed. And don't like I missed anything. I need that checklist. Gains. Listen, I don't sell the checklist, right? So I know some people sell their check. I don't do any of that. I just created it over the course of several weeks doing my research. Because as you guys know, I'm an ETF guy for the last 20 years. I have not been big on, I had a few stocks, but not big on individual stocks, but I'm growing a stock portfolio. I want to grow it to $100,000 in the next 3 years. And I want you guys to come along with me. That's what we're doing over on Patreon. So feel free to come on over there. What's my thoughts on Chipotle? Chipotle is down right now. Is that right? So what's CMG stock doing? I actually do own some Chipotle. Um, and I don't stock watch, by the way. I don't sit and watch the stock market every single day and check every single day what my stocks are doing. But I think Chipotle has been down for the last month or so, right? Maybe last couple months it's been down, trading at 53 bucks per share after. And you typically listen, a lot of times when you have a stock split, you will see a little bit of this happening, guys, after a stock split. You'll see it with Chipotle. You see it right now with a super micro computer, which we talked about, where stocks sort of have a lull period, right? Doesn't happen all the time with every industry, but we see it. And that's what we see with Chipotle right now as they gather. Also consider the fact that Chipotle, I think, did they lose their CEO to Starbucks? If I'm saying that right, guys, help me out. I think Chipotle lost their CEO to Starbucks, which I've never been a fan of Starbucks, right? I've never. I'm gonna tell you guys two weird things about me. I've never been to I went into a Starbucks, but I never purchased anything at a Starbucks, not once. And I've also never used a dishwasher. How random is that, right? I don't use a dishwasher. Never have. Although I have a dishwasher, I've never used a dishwasher. My thoughts on Chipotle. I like it. Long term, looks good. Let's see who they bring in as the CEO. But I am a card carrying member of Chipotle. I eat there and I actually own stock there. Let's see here. What do you think of stock NVDY, dividend ETF that tracks Nvidia? Haven't done my research. Haven't done my research. So that's how I'll answer that. Don't beat me up, but I just want to make sure if I haven't done my research, I'll tell you I haven't done my research. Yes, Mrs. Morrissey, get the likes up. Guys, come on, help me out. How do we have 200 plus people in the room and less than 100 likes? Not cool. Come on, help me out, guys. Hit the like button for me. That's the least you could do, right? I've come on here and said, hey, these are two AI stocks that I'm watching. Super micro, other than Nvidia, super micro computer, and I gave you the reasons, and Palantir, and I gave you the reasons, right? Now you got to go do your own research. You got to go figure out, okay, can I live with this stock based on the numbers, based on the qualitative and the quantitative information that's out there on this stock, right? Oh, Kava. Somebody mentioned Kava in the chat. Kava went up to $111 today per share because I think did Kava have an earnings report that came out? Let's see here. I mentioned Kava to you guys back when they were trading at Kava went up to 101 bucks per share. Am I saying that right? I just pulled it up right now. Yeah, it looks like they went to 101 bucks today. Is that right? And they've been steady going up, right? Yeah, they reported their second quarter 2024 earnings results today, and I think they were very successful, right? And they had a positive earnings report for Kava today, which means that stock saw a jump, right? Or it has seen a jump. And I talked about Kava about 2 or 3 months ago, right? We mentioned Kava. I actually went out and bought a little bit of Kava, right, in terms of a single stock, just a very tiny bit of it. But another stock to keep in mind, something to keep, I could have did a whole deal on Kava as well because they've had some pretty sharp increases, and they've only been out there for a year and a half now. So let's see here. So somebody said, rumor has it that Buffett bought loads of Sirius XM radio. Is there a Sirius XM radio still? I didn't know that. Yeah, Kava has gone up. So yeah, I'm glad I hipped you guys, some of you guys, to Kava a while back. I hipped you guys to Palantir about 2 or 3 months ago as well. You can look back through the coffers and see we did a story on or a report on them as well. Let's see here. Harris' plan to tax capital gains is only on people who earn over $100 million. Oh, okay, lady. Thank you for clarifying that, lady. Appreciate that. Yeah, but still, maybe I want to be worth $100 million one day. So who knows? But the point is that yeah, that's the capital gains. But the corporate tax to 28% was in fact something that was mentioned as being, and it would be the first increase in the corporate tax for the last 30 years. And can you imagine What happens with corporations when their taxes go up? What do? Are they going to stick around for this high tax? No, they're probably going to leave. So now you're taking jobs away with it. A lot of times when you have these large, sweeping, tax the people, you know, when you have these type of situations, because I've been a landlord for a long time, so I've seen a lot of these things come through in terms of landlord rules, policies, laws. A lot of times what happens is you end up hurting the people that it's intended to help. You're trying to help, and so what happens is you end up hurting the people who you think will benefit from it. But there's other solutions that might not hurt the people, but you say, I want to get votes, so let me make this broad sweeping thing to get it right. So I'm not with the whole socialist agenda. That's just my personal opinion. And like me, don't like me, beat me up, throw me to the wolves, whatever it may be. I'm not with it. Let's see here. Nvidia, long on Nvidia. Okay, sure. So here's the deal. I want to kind of just leave you guys there with those two stocks. Those my top two AI stocks that's on my watch list that I'm watching that's other than Nvidia. Super Microcomputer, please do your research. We're trying to figure out how Super Micro can continue to have this increase in revenue, but also at the same time bring down the cost of that revenue. It shouldn't, their cost was way high. And so that's an issue that I'm concerned about with Super Micro. But they are a wonderful player in the AI hardware space for data centers and so forth. So Super Micro could be one that I purchased. I haven't purchased yet. The other one was Palantir. Have seen some strong growth lately, last month or so. From 23, I think when we first talked about it on this channel, Palantir was at 23 bucks per share, and now they're all the way at 32 bucks per share, right? Not bad. And they have lots of room to grow based on their position in the software space of AI, software space of cybersecurity, software space of, surveillance and all the things they can bring to the commercial world that they've been bringing to the government space for the last 15, 20 years or so, right? So the other thing about Palantir, of course, you got to look at, ethical issues. Please do your research on the ethical issues and then determine how you feel about those ethical issues if that's a part of your strategy. Now, some of you may say, hey, look, I don't care about the ethics. I don't care about the morals. I don't care about their lack of transparency as a company. I don't care that they supplied intelligence agency to what happened in Iran or what. Some of you don't care about that. That's okay. You have your own, but you got to think about that when you think about Palantir and its CEO and how out front he is about his political issues, etc. I am giving you things to think about. I'm not telling you what stocks to invest in. Let me get that really, really clear, because I get people that drop down in the comment section all the time that say, well, you told us to go out and buy so-and-so. I ain't told you to buy nothing. Let's be flat out about that. I haven't told you to buy anything. I can't tell you to buy something. I wouldn't do it. But at the same time, if I tell you to go out and buy something and you go out and buy it, I didn't punch the button. I didn't press enter. You press enter. So, I don't tell you what to buy. But even if I did tell you what to buy, don't blame me for your actions. Right? So I had to say that because I've had several people in the comments section, because I look at a lot of the comments, not all of them, can't read all of them, but I look at a lot of them and people say, well, you told us to go. No, stop. You're grown. And if you're not grown, you shouldn't even be watching this channel and making money decisions, right? I don't mind you watching the channel if you're 15. That's cool. But don't rely on me to tell you what to buy and what not to buy. That's not my job here. My job is to give you information. I'm in the educational area of YouTube. I'm giving you the information. Your job is to go out and do your own research. So please stop blaming YouTubers for your mistakes. Stop blaming me Because I did a video about Broadcom, and you went and bought $100,000 worth of Broadcom, and it dropped down, and you lost $20,000. You did that. I'm giving you the information. I'm telling you what I'm doing and what I'm thinking. Cool. If you want to go off of it, we good. If you don't want to go off it, it's not my fault that you just followed without doing your own research. The most important thing you can do is not just take my word for it. Please don't take my word for Palantir. Do your own research on these individual stocks, or if we talk about ETFs or whatever we talk about. That's your job. You have a responsibility, not just me. It's not on me to hold your hand, and I'm not holding your hand and pressing the button for you that says buy 10,000 shares of Nvidia. You're buying 10,000 shares of Nvidia, right? I just had to say that, guys. I didn't mean to go on a rant, but I had to say that because we have people who will tell me in the comment section, oh, you're the person that told us to. No, I ain't tell you to do nothing, right? The first 2 words of that entire comment was wrong. So let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. My buddy just told me 3 hours ago he's buying $20,000 worth of SMCI tomorrow. Cool, right? Hope he's done his research. Let's see here. People always need somebody to blame, smart girl in NYC. You are right. The last place some people go is the mirror, right? They look for everybody else. Let's see here. You told me to, yeah, TJB. Yeah, that's a good one, TJB, right? Let's see here. That's funny, man. That was really funny, right? That made me smile. A lot of times you can see I'll get real serious, right? But this is always for informational purposes only. And if you're mad at me for saying this is informational purposes only, that's on you. I can't help that. But I can only give you information, right? Got to do your own research. Let's see here. Do I own any energy? Okay, energy. Let's talk energy real quick. Smart girl. I do own some Chevron, and I own some ExxonMobil. In terms of, I guess, is that energy? I guess that can be considered energy, right? Again, come on over to Patreon. We'll go into detail about that here shortly. We're still building ourselves up over there. But yes, that's the only, and they're just funds. They're stocks. They're not ETFs. I don't own energy in the ETF space, right? But I did a bunch of research on Chevron, a bunch of research on Exxon. I said, excellent. Let's see where they're going. To me, those are good non-cyclical stocks, right? Because no matter what happens, we still need what ExxonMobil and what Chevron does, right? It could be a war. It could be whatever. They're still there, right? They're not cyclical like tech. So in my individual stock portfolio, I have it broken down into sectors and cyclical versus non-cyclical because I want some of both. And I want a few different sectors. I want some technology. I want some food and some staples, some consumer goods, right? I even want a little bit of transportation, right? So we break all that down, and we look at my individual stock portfolio as well as my ETF portfolio a little more detailed on Patreon. So there's a link to that in the description box. Good question, though. Thank you, smart girl in NYC, for asking that question. I appreciate it. Let's see here. See if we got any more. Okay, so, if I didn't mention it, SMCI, super microcomputer, 10-to-1 stock split in the beginning of October. So if you're looking at that stock and you're watching it like me, then you need to be looking to see maybe that you want to do something before the stock split. Maybe you want to wait until after the stock split. Maybe there'll be a little lull in the stock. Who knows? You need to check that out. Palantir's next earnings report is November 7th, I believe. And then let's see when the next earnings report for Supermicro Computer is. That's going to be November 6th. So right around each other. What did I say? Yeah, November 6th for Supermicro and November 7th for Palantir. So I hope you guys got something of value out of this video. If you checked in late, rewind this thing to the beginning. I kind of did a overview / deep dive into Supermicro Computer and an overview / deeper dive into Palantir as well. These are the two stocks, the top 2 AI stocks I'm watching. Oh, and I'm buying more than likely other than Nvidia. Okay? So I appreciate you guys being here. Z, Miss Reynolds, Walla Mala, Carlton Webb, the Willie Wilo, Sherlock, Calvin, Mrs. Moore. Thank you so much, Mrs. Moore. I appreciate your help. You guys, you got to do me that favor. Check out the description box below. We got some free stuff. We got my channel partner, Mint Mobile's down there. But don't leave out of here without hitting that like button for me. I really, really, really appreciate it. All right? So we'll be back at you guys on Saturday, 11 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. And also, as I always say, the absolute best person that's going to take care of the old you is the young you. Guys, watch out for those bots in the comment section. All right? Drop me a comment and let me know your thoughts on Super Microcomputer and on Palantir. Take good care of yourself and take care of other people. Until the next video, peace.